Director of the Masters in Psychological Science along with Dr. Maeve Brosnan. And here today we also have Associate Professor Christine Lenihan, Dr. Alison Stapleton and Hannah O'Gorman, who are going to talk to you about the Masters in Disability Studies. We also have two other postgraduate programs in the school. So we have the higher diploma in psychology for people who are converting to psychology more broadly. And then we've got the Masters in Behavioural Neuroscience as well. And unfortunately, we don't have anyone to speak to those programs today, but just to point you to those if they're of interest, there's lots of information online and you're always welcome to send an email. So the Masters in Psychological Science is a one-year full-time program. It's a level 9 master's, so it's comprised of 90 credits and it's for psychology graduates with at least a 2-1 degree. So you have to have an undergraduate degree or a higher diploma in psychology with at least a 2-1. And it's designed for students in particular who want to go on to do doctoral training in clinical counselling, educational or organisational psychology, or students who would like to go on to complete PhDs in the area of psychology. So the figures here are from last year, so 24-25, we had over 150 applicants for just 26 places. For 25-26, actually, it was closer to 200. So it's quite competitive in terms of a process. It's a one-year program and it's designed to equip you with skills for professional practice, so core research and psychology skills. As well as your research project, which is 30 credits, so a big part of the program, and that reflects how important research is no matter what psychology path you go down after the Masters. We have two core modules. One is advanced research methods and stats. So this is to further develop your skills in statistics. And just to note, in August, so usually a couple of weeks before the official program begins, students are invited to a refresher stats program that's open to all postgraduate students coming into the schools. So if you're not very confident or you want a refresher in this area, that's open to any interested students who have accepted offers. We also have a module that's called Research Skills and Development. And this module is about developing you as a researcher, developing your skills, not just in relation to core aspects like ethics, but also in terms of further developing your research interest area. And it encourages you to go out and to chase essentially your specific research interests and to learn more about them. On top of this, we have a choice of option module. So these can vary slightly from year to year, and that's dependent on if we have staff who are gone on leave, gone on sabbatical, new staff, and so on. But we'll go through a couple of those modules just to give you a flavour of what you might expect. So one module, Counselling and Clinical Skills, is coordinated by Associate Professor Keith Gaynor, who's a clinical psychologist. And this module aims to develop clinical skills in master's students. Whereas we have other modules like this one from Associate Professor Paul Dalton, which focuses on mindfulness. And then another popular module from Professor Bramham, which focuses on the area of neuropsychology, which is always a popular one. We also have a module called this BPS Certificate in Educational Testing. So this helps students develop their psychology skills. They work one-on-one with existing UCD students to help them develop their learning skills while at university. I know I mentioned before, but another master's in the school, which is quite popular, is the Masters in Behavioural Neuroscience. So this master's is similarly designed in the sense that the research project it comprises a large component of the master's, and also the modules are more designed around the area of behavioral neuroscience and neuropsychology. So if students are specifically interested in the neuro aspect of psychology, we typically direct them towards this master's program. So thank you. And I'm going to pass on to Associate Professor Christine Lenihan next, who is going to speak about our Masters in Disability Studies.
As you can see, this is a presentation on the MSc in Disability. It's a 1 year full-time program. And that means 1 year full-time would mean that it would start in September and it will run the whole way through to the July of the following year. So you'll be here for the summer. That's just who we are. So it's myself and Alison run this program. I'm going to give the presentation today, but Alison, feel free to chip in at any point. So at what level is it? This is similar to the program that Michelle has introduced. It's a level 9 program with 90 credits, and it is for graduates of any discipline with at least a 2-2 degree. And that can be from any discipline. So sometimes I think people think that they have to be on a psychology program in order to enter the Masters in Disability. That's not so. You can come from a language discipline, a science discipline, any other discipline. But if you have an interest in disability, this is the postgraduate program for you. We are very interested to hear from students who have a disability. Family members quite often would take part in this program, and also professionals who are working in the field. Just to give you an idea of some of the things that we cover, things like disability identity, intersectionality. We have a big focus on policy, legislation, human rights, etc., and also practice-based skills in research methodologies, and Michelle has spoken to the importance of that in any discipline, and also practice-based skills in behavioural support and programme development. Just to say that there are 6 core modules on this programme, and that would comprise 60 credits on the programme. They range in areas, as I've said, from disability policy to advanced disability studies, behavioural support, research, etc. And then on the other side of the screen, what you can see are option modules. And what the rationale is behind that is that many of the people who work in disability, they have a specific interest, and we're trying to accommodate those interests. So you may have an interest in education, in which case you can select from modules from the School of Education here. You can select from the School of Psychology, from the School of Public Health, from the School of Sociology, from the School of Politics, from the School of Law. So whatever your interest is, we'd hope that you would find somewhere in all of these modules that you can specialize your interests. So again, who's it for? It is for anybody who has an interest in disability, and I would encourage people that when you are applying for this course, that you would give a strong rationale. We're looking for people who are very passionate about disability and human rights. A minimum 2.2 classification or international equivalent. And if English is not your first language, then we require IELTS of 7 with no band less than 6.5 in each element. So every year we do have a number of international students, which is terrific to hear about disability in different contexts. The programme is largely delivered by academics like myself and Alison from the Centre for Disability Studies in the School of Psychology, but one of the major features of the programme is our guest lecturers, and they come from a variety of different organisations in the country, both semi-state, government, etc. So I've just given an example there of, the St. John of God's, the Health Service Executive, the National Disability Authority. And indeed, earlier in the month, we had somebody from a government department come in. So we have a lot of guest lecturers. So there's a good amount of networking to be done on the programme. If you feel that a 1 year master's programme is not for you, there might be some other options for you. So you can actually take those 6 core modules as a graduate diploma, and you can come back at a later date if you wish to top up with another 30 credits to get your master's. Many of the core modules are actually available as a standalone professional certificate. You require the same entry criteria as you would for the master's. You just do one of those modules and you will be awarded a professional certificate from UCD. We're trying to be very, very inclusive. So if you don't meet the inclusion criteria, that's okay. We have something for you as well. And what we have is continual professional development. So again, you can take most of those core modules and you would exit with a certificate from the UCD Centre for Disability Studies. By way of career opportunities, obviously most of our graduates will end up in the disability sector. Some people, in fact, start that way and they're looking for promotion. And some people have continued on into doctoral programs, whether PhD or clinical psychology. Just to give you an idea of where some of our graduates have ended up, these are two of our recent graduates. So Jean O'Sullivan will be joining us as a PhD student in the coming year, but at the moment, she has a research role in the University of Limerick, the Royal College of Surgeons, and Trinity College Dublin. And she's rolling out disability education for professionals working in the health field. Another graduate we have there is Anlin Paul, and Anlin is working with a disabled persons organisation, Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus Ireland, as a health promotion and development officer. And just recently, we've conducted a research programme with them. This is our website. If you want any further information, you can find it there on our website. And that is my slide. So I'll stop sharing there. And what I might do is go to Hannah and ask Hannah if, just if you want to say something generally perhaps about the School of Psychology. My other hat, I should say, I'm the deputy head of the UCD School of Psychology. So maybe Hannah, you might want to say a little bit about the School of Psychology, your experiences as a student, and then as class rep on the Masters in Disability.
Okay. Hi, my name's Hannah. I'm a previous graduate of the undergrad in psychology, so I came through the undergrad program. So I got to experience the widest probably experience of the School of Psychology, and it was a fabulous program. It really was. But then stepping into the master's program, I've really enjoyed not only the course content, but the diversity of students within the class. And Christine mentioned that there's various different ways into the course. And what that means is you sit in the classroom and the conversation starts and you've got lived experience, you've got professional experience, you've got questions asked from a very philosophical or theoretical perspective. And it's that combination moment that you actually really learn. And it's like it goes beyond just what's on a textbook or what's in an article that you've read to it actually goes into this is how it applies to life. This is why it's important. These are the people behind the stats or behind. And so that's one of the things I've really enjoyed in the first semester is that combination effect of, yes, very strong understanding of policies and legislation and lived experience, but how those combine into preparing for what can be done in going forward that benefits society in its widest forms. And I think that's that's probably the one thing I was looking forward to the most about the program, but I've really enjoyed it even more than I thought I would stepping into the classroom. It's been great. My advice would be very simply go for it. I came back as a mature student to do the undergrad and then proceeding into the master's. I have to say there's moments that are tough in it, but it is the best thing I've ever done. I was so glad I did it and I've really, really enjoyed the master's so far.
I think the school in general is very, very research active. I know because I was just this morning looking at our research metrics. So it's a highly research active school. And what that means is that for a lot of our programs, the material that you're presented with in class is actually the research by the person who's talking to you. And I think that that's a great thing that people can talk with great integrity and with great detail and with impact. So a lot of the programs, what you'll be presented with is actually the research of the person standing in front of you. And I think that's a great thing to be able to say. I'm very proud of that on the school. Alison, I don't know if you'd like to add anything.
Yeah, I'd agree with what you said, and maybe also add that, especially in the area of disability, for example, where things can change quite rapidly and there's new perspectives and new research, it's really important, that the staff research is reflected in the actual teaching content. So, that is something that you will notice is that everything is quite current and up to date, because in a way it has to be.
And then another question for the MSc in disability. What educational backgrounds do students typically have?
We have a bit of everything in the class. We really have this year. It's been really fun. You have people who have there's a few of us that came from psychology undergrads. There are we've got one who's got I think a more philosophical background would be theirs. You have a lot of lived experience. We have a lot of people who have come back in either to do the whole course as a master's or even to just do a continuous development, who are stepping literally out of, I think we had a speech and language therapist who was doing part of the course this semester. We've had, I think there's a lot of people that have had a lot of experience within different service provision and stuff like that. So it's a real combo. It's a real spread of backgrounds. It's been really fun.
Apart from essays and group projects, are there opportunities for students to engage in practical or real life world assessments, such as policy briefs, program evaluations, or advocacy projects?
The assignments I've found are very practical in that they're simulations of what real life would be, but one is presented as you're trying to talk about something in a town hall kind of setting. So you're looking at being able to communicate, find, research, understand, and then communicate that understanding to a wide variety of people. And if you look at that as an example of real life perspectives, there's so many ways you can apply that. The other assignment that we have as one of our end of semester assignments is it's basically a report looking at alternative ways of applying what's being done in the disability world, applying it slightly differently to achieve a better impact. And I think that again those are the conversations that are being had. And I think one of the very interesting parallels for me was sitting in the classroom with some of the guest lecturers we had who are stepping out of those exact moments. That's what they're doing. And we're being given the chance to, in a simulation, but a very realistic simulation, at least attempt to interact in that world. And having had the presentations from guest lecturers who are doing that and are on the coalface working with policy and education in community, it's a very helpful combination to make.
Great, thanks so much, Hannah. So we just have one last question. Is the research thesis mostly based on current projects that supervisors are working on, or are students required to propose a new project idea?
Yeah, great question. I presume that's based on the behavioral neuro and Masters of Psychological Science, but I'm really glad that question has been raised. So there's a combination of every student on those two programs is allocated a supervisor in the school, and the supervisor will have an area of interest, but there may be some calibration around that to get interests together. But I think one of the really innovative measures that we've brought in over the last few years is that we no longer require the students to produce a thesis, because really, if you produce a thesis and then after you leave the university, you want to get that published in a peer-reviewed journal, which most of the students will, students are a little bit left adrift, and those publications tend to, the take-up is small. What we do now, I think, is a fabulous idea, and that is that the students actually draft a journal article, and that is what they submit for grading. So I have 3 of my graduates from last year. I've got back in contact, and they would have graduated they'll graduate in December, but they would have got their results, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, whatever it was. And we are currently now looking at the work that they submitted, that draft journal article, and with a view that those articles will be published next year. So you walk away not only with your degree and with your research project, but you also walk away with a very high likelihood, if you put the work in, that you will walk away with a publication as well. As I say, there's a lot of highly research active people in the school from a lot of areas. The directors will try to align students with research areas in as much as possible, and there should be wiggle room there to make sure that people are genuinely interested in what they're doing. But that has got very, very good feedback as a really top opportunity from the students.